Welcome to Life Recovery Today, brought to you by New Life. If you're feeling stuck in addiction, grief, anxiety, or broken relationships, you're not alone. Over the next half hour, you'll discover practical tools and biblical truth from the 12 steps of life recovery, designed to help you heal, grow, and thrive. Because recovery isn't just about what you're giving up, it's about who you're becoming. Whether you're new to recovery or looking to go deeper, we have resources to guide you. Bibles, workbooks, devotionals, and real stories of transformation. You can start your journey today on your own, in a group, or through your church. Visit newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to take the next step. This is your time for healing, hope, and freedom. This is Life Recovery Today.
Hi there. Welcome to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here, and so glad that you've joined me. You know, life recovery applies to everything, and it certainly applies to food problems, especially when they become an addiction. Now, I didn't really understand addiction and food. I had a food problem. I essentially was carrying a little third grader around with me all the time, 60 pounds overweight. And then I started to think about what is it that I could do to change this weight. You know, it wasn't magically going to remove itself. And so I started to do small things that I could do for the rest of my life. And I developed some insights. Here's one. When I purchase food, I am now the owner of that food. I don't have to meet anybody else's expectation. I just need to use the food to the best of my body's design, which means if I don't want to eat all of that food, I don't have to. And so I suggested in our Lose It for Life program that some people do what I did. I developed a diet ice cream plan, and that was this. If you get a cone of ice cream, go over to the trash and about 2/3 down, just slice it off and throw that away. It's yours. You can't send it to any starving children anywhere else. So now I have an ice cream cone that's going to end the way it would have ended if I had eaten the other 200 or 300 calories there. Some people say, I am not doing that. Well, the point is, though, that you own the food. Ever since I started coming up with these things, I've been helping people deal with their food obsessions and just these dependencies on food, and even when especially sugar becomes an addiction. It's really a problem. You know, people talk about all sorts of things and how their addiction is worse than others, but this is one that needs to come under control. We even have a life recovery workbook for eating disorders, and you're working the steps in the workbook according to the 12 steps of life recovery. Now, we have a specialist here, Dr. Rhona Epstein, and she's continuing to address the food recovery in this episode. Now, if you don't have a need for food recovery, everything that she talks about here applies to any other dependency or addiction. She's a psychologist, she's an author, a speaker, and she's into recovery and treating everything that has to do with a food problem as an addiction. Because the principles work, whether you're actually addicted or dependent or you've just got a minor problem, the steps work. So we want to continue learning, and here is Dr. Rhona on the food addiction that so many of us have and the recovery from it. And I think, once again, you're going to learn a lot from Dr. Rhona. Here she is.
Okay, so we are back for more of a conversation about how to do food addiction recovery. And so in this segment, I want to talk about different ways that people do their food in food recovery. And this is an area where people are in major conflict. You've got people on the one side who think there's one way and everyone should do it this particular way. And then you have other people who think that there's another way and you should do it that way. And for as long as there's been food addiction recovery, there has been this food fight. And I will share the different views so that in our little bit of time together, I'll just give you an overview and some suggestions for getting started and just help you understand that there are paths to take. And sometimes you need to try a path and see how it works for you. And if that doesn't work, then you try a different path, just like as if you had any illness and sometimes you try one medicine, and if that doesn't work, then you try another medicine until you hit it and find the right fix for your struggle. So I don't believe there is one size fits all, and I really don't think it's fair that there are people who are out there insisting that their way is the only way. So there are people who believe that we should all weigh and measure our food and that you should have absolutely no addictive foods whatsoever. And so there's like this list of everything that comes out, and that would be like the ultra clean, very highly structured model. And in some of the food addiction recovery groups, they actually have these food plans, and they insist that you follow them if you want to be in recovery. And there are people who that really works for. They need high structure. They need to be off of all the foods, like including whole grain breads and a lot of grains. And these are the sort of they're controversial gray areas in the world of food addiction. Is I think sugar is one that most everyone agrees is highly addictive. But then when we get into some of the grains is where we have different opinions. And also, how much structure do you need to weigh and measure? And there's just different opinions about this. So the high structured people tends to be that people think that food addiction recovery is always that rigid, but that's actually not true. There are many groups and people in recovery who don't subscribe to this highly structured model. As a matter of fact, some people that would be actually very contraindicated, because it feels like a straitjacket, and it actually, that kind of restriction and forced structure can actually make a person rebel, and it makes them kind of want to take that straitjacket off because it's too rigid. And so for a person like that, having a little more breathability in their food plan would be helpful, but they need to still figure out what kind of food plan they need, because still structure generally is helpful. Having, as my client said earlier today, having finite meals where there's a beginning and an end and there's clarity around meals, that's very helpful for people in food recovery. Also having the same basic foods in your meals, so you know that you're getting your proteins and vegetables and grains, and that you're getting nourished properly, and that you're not eating too little or too much. So it helps to have a structure. And for some, it helps to have it very well measured so that you can just quiet your mind about your food, and then it's over, you measured it, you don't have to wonder. It doesn't come back into your head later that you didn't eat enough or you ate too much, because you measured it and then it's done. But for other people, they can live with the just I ate a healthy meal and I'm good. But I think it helps to find, with the help of others in recovery and a good nutritionist who understands food addiction, it helps to have a clear idea what you're doing, so that you know when breakfast comes and lunch comes and dinner comes, what you're doing with food. Having a routine makes it a lot easier, so there's not a lot of guesswork going into what you're doing. And so this could be a discussion that goes on all day, and we don't have all day. So sometimes people use the model of red light, yellow light, and green light foods. And so you might want to do something like that, where the red light foods are the ones you know you can't stop if you start. And we just put those on the list of, those are the addictive foods, they are off the list. The yellow light foods, we may want to measure those. And a lot of times the grains, the cereals, if a person's going to eat whole grain pasta, which that's one of those yellow light foods, some can have it, some can't. Rice is one of those things. Some are okay with brown rice and some overeat it. So, we might want to measure that. For some people, they've always binge on it. So that might be red. And the green light foods are usually all those healthy proteins and vegetables. But again, for some people, measuring might always be a good thing, because I've had clients tell me they were eating a whole pound of meat at dinner. And if that's you, then it would always be good to take a food scale out and measure that 4-ounce portion or whatever you and your nutritionist work out. So it's coming up with a plan that you can live with, and understanding that what we're trying to do is shut down the noise in your head, making an agreement to follow a plan that quiets cravings and really gets us into a place where we have peace with food. And we then also, besides following a food plan, we need a recovery plan to work on other things like the triggers. And there's so many parts, like what do you do at a party, and what do you do when you're on vacation and the holidays? And we're going to talk about all of that, but we need a plan that goes with us in all the places, because like an alcoholic, you can't just drink because it's New Year's Eve. It's the same thing. I mean, when I go on vacation, I don't just start eating like some people just pull the plug on vacations. You're like, okay, well, I'll go back on my diet after my vacation. But if I did that, I might not come back from my vacation. Then for me, it means insanity again. So that's the same as an alcoholic. They can't take a break from the recovery and expect to come back. And so it's learning that my food plan needs to be livable. I need to like what I'm eating. I need to find a way to prepare my food so that I feel full and satisfied. And that may mean trying some things. Sometimes people are so hooked on the junk food that they don't even hate vegetables, don't know how to prepare them. I've met people who just eat canned green beans and just hate all vegetables, but they don't know how to make them taste good. So we may have to start with just maybe introducing new ways of preparing and cooking, and trying some new ways of making things taste delicious. Because the truth is that when our taste buds can change, and they do change, and people, after they've done a food recovery plan for a while, most often will say, I really love my food plan. We're able to embrace that. It does take a little bit to get adjusted, but once the adjustment happens and people make a commitment to a recovery plan, they can find the world of healthy eating not to be a bad thing, but actually a very good thing and a very positive thing, especially if we make it more fun and gratifying. So I will leave you with that for now. And in the next segment, I'm going to focus really all on the emotional aspects of recovery, which is really, really vital. If we're going to be in recovery, that we need to make sure that we understand what is triggering our eating and how to get into the mindset of doing all the other healthy ways of coping and not abusing food anymore.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Visit newlife.com/groups or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis, someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today. Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back. You know, I really appreciate the fact that Dr. Rhona is a psychologist, but she truly understands addiction. And one of the mistakes that psychologists make is, well, why was it that you got overweight in the beginning? Now that can be appropriate in some situations, but for me, I was what I called an uneducated eater. And so when I was in high school, I would sit in front of the TV with a can of potato chips, not knowing that that was going to make me fat. And boy, did it ever. Is that really important that I did that then? Or is it more important to know why I want to overeat now when I do? Well, I think the answer is obvious. Now, we all have to eat to live. And yet, we've learned to eat for comfort and eat for relief and other things. Well, in this segment, Dr. Rhona is going to talk specifically about using the 12 steps to work with food issues. And she's one of those few psychologists that really gets the addiction process and also what's necessary for recovery. And when you put all of this together, what a difference it can make in your life and those who are counting on you to be alive and healthy. Dr. Rhona.
And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to really maintain recovery. And I'm going to talk about the 12 steps and support and the vital pieces of how to have a true transformation. I'm telling you something super important. If you just try to fix the food, you may actually have like a miracle moment. A lot of people have this experience where you have this flight into health and you get off the sugar and you feel better and you think you fixed your problem, but then life will happen as life happens. And, there's a crisis or a death or a holiday, and there goes the addiction kind of rearing its ugly head. And we wonder how we ended up, after doing so well, how we ended up going down that slippery slope back into addictive behavior. And I think that sometimes it's because we don't really understand or have a true appreciation for the addiction and how powerful it really is. We haven't really surrounded ourselves with support. We don't really understand the gravity of this and what we really need to do to have a lifestyle of recovery. And so I am a fan of people getting involved in support groups, not just because it's better together, but it is better together for sure. I think getting involved in a support system where you have people who really get it and who know what it's like and know how to recover so that you are not alone. It's super important, and there's absolutely no excuse in this day and age when you can access support by a click on your computer and just hop onto meetings anywhere in the world for free. So there's no reason why any of us can't have support, but support alone is also not enough. Doing a full recovery, I think, really requires that we do the whole body, mind, and spirit approach. And I highly suggest that you consider doing the steps, 12 steps, starting where we own up and admit that we need help. In the first step, we admit that we need help and that we can't do it alone. And I will tell you, today, I still start my day, even after decades of recovery, one day at a time. I still ask God every day for help. And I turn my recovery over to Him and thank Him for it, because I know that apart from Him, I wouldn't have a recovery. I know it's all a miracle. So I thank Him and I ask Him, and I encourage all of us to keep that sort of humility. I think, like the Word of God says, pride comes before a fall. And I think that's true. It's important for us to remember that we can do all things in Him who strengthens us. I think we can get false, our egos get blown up. We start feeling confident, our bodies start to feel better, and we can lose sight of how that happened. It is a miracle to be set free. And so I like to encourage all of us to remember to ask God for help and learn to depend on God every day. In the steps, we turn to God for help. We learn to depend on Him for everything. And it's turning our life and our will over to God, not just our food problem, but every other part of our lives, and be willing to put our life into His hands, and letting Him guide our every aspect of our lives. If you know about the steps, as you get into the middle part, which people refer to as the working steps, steps 4 to 9, is where you do the inventory and you dig deep and look at issues of like resentments and fears and insecurities and relational struggles and procrastination and honesty and all the things that we need to look at in our character, that the corrections that we need to get right with God. And so we need to look at these things with God's help and with the help of our support system. And then we need to make amends. Sometimes that means fixing relationships that are broken, or at least being willing to make amends where we can, forgiving people, getting our hearts right, and not carrying around some of those negative feelings or hurtful feelings towards people, and being willing to live in peace with other people, as the Word says. As far as it depends on me, depend to be at peace with all men. It's a very good word for us. And I think, our aim needs to be have as much peace as possible so that we have less reason to use food. And so I think the steps are divinely inspired to enable us to be free of those toxic parts of our character that would leave us in a situation that would set us up for needing to drug ourselves. And so the rest of the steps, 10, 11, and 12, are considered maintenance steps. And that's where, on a daily basis, you kind of learn to pay attention to make sure that you're being honest and that you aren't procrastinating as much as possible. Obviously, nobody's going to become perfect, but keeping sort of an eye on our feelings and making sure that we're not letting ourselves build anger or resentment towards anybody, and, straightening out things if we're afraid, to try to face our fears, get help when we need help, and not let our problems continue to build up. And it's just like that daily, watchfulness about our life so that we can be healthier people. And step 11 is prayer and meditation. and improving our relationships with God. And ultimately, and I know I can't say this enough, and I really believe that our relationship with God and his love is the ultimate answer to all of our problems. Some of you might have ever heard the saying, it's a common thing that we hear, is that we all have that hole in our soul that only God can fill. And I really believe that's true. And if food is filling the hole, then God is definitely not. And we need to get the food out and put God right where he belongs, and our needs will be met in him. And so his love is what we need. And if there's struggles there with receiving his love, or believing in his love, or trusting in his love, or even depending on him, then it would be good to get some counseling around that and work that through. Some of us have really, had challenges in our lives, whether in religion or family issues, that have caused us to struggle in our relationship with God. Maybe we believe, but we have trouble with intimacy with him or trusting him. But this is something not to leave alone, because ultimately we need to turn from trusting food as our dependency to trusting God and learning to really depend on him. And that is the way we will recover. And then in step 12, we practice helping others, and we practice the steps every day over and over. And so I encourage you to find groups, find people, find a sponsor, get a circle of people around you, not just one, but a bunch that you can call and connect with, so that you are not alone and you have people that you trust in your life. I pray the Lord will direct you to what you need to have your freedom in your life. And God bless you, and thank you for being together with me and with New Life. I'm so glad for this time together. God bless.
Welcome back. Well, I think you can see that Dr. Rhona can really help you if you'll just follow her directions and the steps that have always been there. Now, if you're recognizing that food may be how you're coping with life challenges, there is a path where you can get through life's challenges without food being your source of comfort. We want to help you with that. And you can begin that journey by just calling us and asking us for a counselor, asking us for the Lose It for Life materials, or the life recovery materials that relate to eating disorders. They all work. I want to thank you for watching. Please tell somebody else about our new time here. And I pray that you will be grateful for the food that you have and use that food as God intended to bless you with. See you next time.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today, where we believe your past doesn't have to define your future. If you're ready to take the next step, we're here to help with Bibles, workbooks, devotionals, and more. Visit newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Your journey to healing and freedom can start right now. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay courageous, and keep moving forward.